Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm the Book Geek, also known as Kiava, and this is February's Author of the Month. So for the month of February, I decided to highlight author Pauline Hopkins. Pauline Hopkins was born in 1859. She was a novelist, a playwright, a journalist, and an editor, among many other things. In fact, she wrote several short stories and articles for the Colored American magazine, which she served as woman's editor and as literary editor for several years. Pauline wrote a play titled Slaves Escape, or The Underground Railroad, whose title has since been revised, that was produced in 1879 when Pauline was just 20 years old. Hopkins moved on from the Colored American magazine and began writing nonfiction articles for a monthly magazine titled Voice of the Negro. She explored social and racial issues through her writing and through the romance genre. This excerpt was pulled from the Colored American magazine. This is Volume 3, Number 4, August 1901, A Dash for Liberty. So, Madison, you're bound to try it? Yes, sir, was the respectful reply. There was silence between the two men for a space, and Mr. Dixon drove his horse to the end of the furrow he was making and returned slowly to the starting point and the sombre figure awaiting him. Do I not pay you enough and treat you well? Asked the farmer as he halted. Yes, sir. Then why not stay here and let well enough alone? Liberty is worth nothing to me while my wife is a slave. We will manage to get her to you in a year or two. The man smiled and sadly shook his head. A year or two would mean forever situated as we are, Mr. Dixon. It is hard for you to understand. You white men are all alike where you are called upon to judge a Negro's heart. He continued bitterly. Imagine yourself in my place. How would you feel? The relentless hail of oppression in the States will have ground my rights as a husband into the dust and have driven Susan to despair in that time. A white man may take up arms to defend a bit of property, but a black man has no right to his wife, his liberty, or his life against his master. This makes me low-spirited, Mr. Dixon, and I have determined to return to Virginia for my wife. My feelings are centered in the idea of liberty. And as he spoke, he stretched his arms towards the deep blue of the Canadian sky in a magnificent gesture. Then, with a deep-drawn breath that inflated his mighty chest, he repeated the word, Liberty! I think of it by day and dream of it by night, and I shall only taste it in all its sweetness when Susan shares it with me. Pauline Hopkins was a singer, an orator, and she also worked as a stenographer. As a black woman herself, she was no stranger, of course, to the racial inequalities of black people. She wrote about these issues often. Famous Women of the Negro Race was an ongoing piece that Pauline Hopkins featured in the Colored American magazine. Here's an excerpt from one of those articles that I found extremely interesting. A famous woman of the favored race has said that she did not wish her work to be judged with reference to her sex, that she feared that women workers were praised unduly. Yet it seems difficult to escape entirely from this evil. Women are so active in advancing the cause not only of women, but of men, and in fact of the entire human family. Women who have enjoyed the higher education with its broadening culture, aesthetic influence, and the pure desire inculcated to uplift humanity are doing much for the masses among their own people. Upon the Negro woman lies a great responsibility, the broadening and deepening of her race, the teaching of youth to grasp present opportunities, and greater than all, to help clear the moral atmosphere by inculcating a clear appreciation of the Holy Word and its application to everyday living. The Negro woman will learn, is learning, many things she has not been fully aware of concerning human nature in general, and philanthropic and political methods in particular. The more clearly she understands the governing principles of the government under which she lives and rears her children, the surer will be an honorable future for the whole race. Pauline sadly died in 1930s from injuries she suffered during a house fire. Sadly, I could not locate any of her work from Voice of the Negro, but I was able to locate several pieces of her writing that were published in the Colored American magazine. Volumes of the Colored American magazine can be accessed online where you can read some of her work. Or you can purchase a book titled The Magazine Novels, which contains articles written by Hopkins that appeared in the Colored American magazine. She is an author that I had never heard of before, and one that I hope is not lost to history. Quote, "No man can draw the dividing line between the two races, for they are both of one blood." End quote. As always, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Links to some of Hopkins' work will be listed in the description box down below. Don't forget to hit the bell so you can get all my notifications, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.